Psalm 84 verse 5 says, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage." A pilgrim has a destination in mind, but a long journey in between the beginning point and the ending point. It's very similar for a gardener, isn't it? A gardener begins with a tiny seed. Inside of that seed is the potential of the full-grown plant bearing fruit. But there is time and many challenges in between the seed and the fruit-bearing plant. But the journey is oh so sweet and filled with many, many lessons. So come on, won't you join me? Let's transform and grow together here in the butterfly garden. First, I'd like to give you an update on the progression of all the plants that I showed you the last time. Remember, I had some in my little garden bed and also some over here in my larger garden that I plowed up in the earth. So come on, let me show you how much they have grown. Okay, let's start with the potted plants. Remember how I said I started basil from the seed? That's looking good. I started the dill from a seed. That's looking good too. Our lemon thyme, thriving. Look at that, looking delicious. That's one of my favorite herbs. Parsley, looking good. Thyme, looking good. This cilantro has begun to flower, and I've already chopped it off a little bit. So if anybody has any secrets about cilantro and how to help it, let me know. I really don't know what I've done wrong with the cilantro, but it looks like it could be doing better. My mint is going strong, delicious. Oregano looking good, rosemary. Okay, so I actually transplanted both of these. They look maybe a little bit droopy, the dill, because I actually transplanted these from smaller pots, because the beautiful thing about growth, especially within a pot, is that the plants will get root bound and they need more room to stretch out. So I wanted to give these plants plenty of room to stretch out so that they can grow really big and flourish. Specifically the dill, because many species of butterflies like dill, or the caterpillars I should say, like dill. So I really want my dill to get really big so that we attract even more butterflies into the butterfly garden. So anyway, that's a lesson about life too. Sometimes you've outgrown your pot and you need to be transplanted to a bigger pot so that you can grow and flourish and mature more and more. And it's going to be a little uncomfortable, the transition, but don't worry, it's for your good. I want to show you this closer up. This is a tomato I began from seed, and I also just transplanted this one into a bigger pot. So it has lots and lots of room to grow up. It's strong with lots of delicious red tomatoes. Okay, look at this. This is a big difference from the last time I showed you. Okay, so my beans are of the vine variation, at least many of them, it appears. So what I did is I took a garden arch that I bought at Aldi for like $30. And I actually took each individual piece of the garden arch and I used it for trellising for my beans. Look at this. I love this vine. Look at how it's grown. It went up, it wrapped around the trellis, and that wasn't high enough. So I kind of convinced it to go over there. It was reaching for something else to grab onto. So it grabbed onto that, and I can't wait to see how many beans I get. You know, this is my first time really growing beans, so my first experience, and next time I would probably grow all of these against the chicken wire or something of the sort. But look how much these have grown. Lima beans, Mountaineer, and then Blue Lake beans, and then here we go. This, okay, first I gotta look at this. This was an accident. This is classic, I guess a seed fell in that I didn't know about. Either that or my friend gave me a seedling and thought it was a bean, and I planted it with the beans, but it's clearly either a cucumber. I think it's cucumber. I think it's a cucumber, to be honest with you. Or some kind of squash. but that's just kind of a mistake. But I put a little trellis down here to help direct it where to go. Now we have our kale. I have already harvested this kale twice. So as you can see, it's kind of, this one was huge before and it was blocking the light of some of the plants behind it, but really the kale looks nice. I got several broccoli popping up. You know, I didn't have 100% yield of the seeds that I sowed, but hey, still look good. That's broccoli. It's on its way. Here we have our butterhead lettuce. As you can see, 3 out of my 5 that I planted actually came up, so they're still growing. But this, I decided to use this spot to put a random onion that I had, because hey, you got to use the space that you have to grow more stuff. Lastly, the spinach. I already harvested that spinach and it was good, but I must have not really known my stuff about spinach, because I don't know if this is the right time of year to grow it. I'm not sure, but it seems that my spinach is struggling a little bit. So once again, if you have any tips, please let me know about that. And Christina's garden is going quite nicely, if I do say so myself. All right, let's go over to the bigger bed. Look at my sunflower popping up. Looking good, looking good. Okay, here we go. This is a cucumber, looking good. Further back, that watermelon has hardly grown. Cantaloupe looking good. That's another bean back there, random bean a friend gave me, looking good. We got 3 pot okras springing up, hallelujah, love okra. My little tomatoes are actually beginning to grow. I've struggled with these a little bit, deciding whether or not I was gonna stick out the time to let these actually be fruitful, specifically these front 2. But you know what? As long as they're growing, I'm gonna definitely let them have a chance to give me some fruit, give me some tomatoes. But these are ones that I began back in like February on my windowsill inside as a greenhouse, and just that previous tomato I showed you over there, that I did like 2 months after. So that shows you the power of planting a seed at the right time with the right amount of light. But anyway, the other tomato plants are looking good, and I did all of these from seed, so these are looking good. That one, you remember that it was kind of wilting a little bit when I planted it, and hey Bruno. And I didn't know if it was gonna really make it, but it is doing awesome. I gave it some stability with that garden stake in there first. I tied like a little twisty tie around it to keep it on the stake, for the stake to give it extra structure and support. And really that is the best one. And the sweet potatoes growing quite nicely. I didn't know they would turn into a vine. I am Miss learn from experience. So I'm learning as I go. So I'm learning about sweet potatoes, that they are a vine, and I'm really excited to see how these things grow. You know, I'm kind of disappointed about my peppers. I really thought my peppers, that's a little jalapeno, and then that jalapeno there is kind of struggling. I'm pretty bummed about that, actually. I really hope that they make a comeback, because I love spicy food and I love my jalapenos. Summer squash looking great. Another summer squash that popped up that I didn't know I planted, and hey, wonderful. So yeah, so that's how things are progressing in the big garden. So let me show you how the wildflower garden is progressing. Okie dokie, artichoke. Here we are. As you can see, things are beginning to spring up. And I promise you, in just a couple months, maybe sooner than that, this is going to be beautiful. Now, the structure of my wildflower garden is maybe slightly unfortunate, because it's kind of at a slant and we've had a lot of rain. So potentially when I sowed the seeds and the rain came right after, it's possible that a lot of the seeds kind of ran down and kind of ran that way. But you know, a wildflower garden is supposed to be a little wild and messy. So there's room for error, but it'll be very nice once they spring up. You can see I planted 3 watermelon plants back here. Nice little trellis to guard it from getting mowed down by my lawnmower. And yeah, so those are those three. Got a few sunflowers that I planted. There's one of them, waiting for that to spring up. So yeah, looking good. I have to get into my beehives to see how they're doing. I want to show you a couple other things that I transplanted. This, I'm very excited to say, is a Rose of Sharon tree. Super pumped. My friend Greg Reeby in Virginia, I just returned from a 5-day trip to Virginia, and he has the most beautiful garden. And he had a huge Rose of Sharon tree, and I told him, I really want a Rose of Sharon, and he had a little sapling that he could give me, and I planted it here, and I'm super excited. I know that it's a flowering tree, and actually it has some buds that I think will be flowering soon. This is my butterfly bush that I used to have in a pot next to my house, but it really wasn't thriving, and I think sometimes when a plant's not thriving, you just need to change it up a bit, and something isn't wrong, or something isn't right, and something isn't giving the plant what it needs. So I figure it needed some fresh soil, maybe some more space to stretch out its roots so it can grow, and yeah, just to be actually in the earth so that it can really take root and become a really beautiful part of the butterfly garden and attract so many butterflies. I also transplanted my blueberry bush because same thing, I'd had it in a pot for months and it hardly grew. And when I dumped this or transplanted it and got this little plant out of the pot it was in, the soil smelled terrible, like almost like there was too much water. It was waterlogged. So I think that was the problem with this blueberry, and actually it needed more space, like my butterfly bush, more space to stretch out and maybe a little less water too. So I'm excited about having some delicious sweet blueberries in the future. Now it's time to check on the bees. My main thing I'm looking for when I open up the hives tonight is to see if the mother hive is now ready to have a third box put on top. As I showed in my last bee video, I actually split the one colony to create two. So I took resources from the mother hive, put them in the daughter hive, swapped the locations so that more of the manpower, or should I say woman power, because of the female worker bees, would go to the daughter hive. And now I'm looking to see if the mother hive is to the point of capacity that we're now ready to put the third box on top, which will eventually become my honey. So let's go see. All right, let's see how this box is looking. Oof. Interesting. Very interesting. Not at all what I was hoping to see. A little bit of eggs and brood. I wonder if my queen left.
Move out of the way. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want any of you to be hurt, okay?
I'll be honest with you. What I saw in there is not what I wanted to see. But alas, this is part of this bee pilgrim's journey. And, challenges are just an opportunity to learn something new. So, I'll accept this challenge. Well, this concludes another episode live from the butterfly garden and the bee kingdom. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something new and it brought encouragement to your heart. I hope that you start a garden of your own. And as always, keep flying higher. See you next time.